breaker, breaker. Shabbat Shalom and Chag Sukkot Sameach. Tonight we're going to begin our service with a song not in our Siddur, but then we'll be moving to the candle blessing on page 9 if you want to get ready early. And here we go. This is what we need to build a sukkah. Wood and branches, hammer and nails. This is what we need to build a sukkah for this holiday. First we need to build a frame with wood and cover with branches. Lots of fun to do. But don't forget that we must see the sun peeking at us through the roof. This is what we need to build a sukkah. Wood and branches, hammer and nails. This is what we need to build a sukkah for this holiday. Now it's time to hang the apples, carrots, and bananas, pears and popcorn too. But don't forget that we must see the sky peeking at us through the roof. This is what we need to build a sukkah. Wood and branches, hammer and nails. This is what we need to build a sukkah for this holiday. After it is finished, we can eat inside the sukkah. We can sleep there too. But don't forget that we must see the stars peeking at us through the roof. This is what we need to build a sukkah. Wood and branches, hammer and nails. This is what we need to build a sukkah for this holiday. Page 9, our Shabbat and festival candle blessing. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav metzivanu lehatlik ner להדליק נר של שבת ושל יום טוב.
For those who are able, we rise together for Kiddush, page 10.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol am veromemanu mikol lashon v'kiddeshanu b'mitzvotav. ותיתן לנו אדוני אלוהינו באהבה שבתות למנחוחה ומועדים לשמחה, חגים וזמנים לששון, את יום השבת הזה ואת יום חג סוכות הזה, זמן שמחתנו, מקרא קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים, כי בנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, בשבת ומועדי קודשך, באהבה וברצון, בשמחה ובששון, הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני, מקדש השבת וישראל והזמנים.
Please be seated. We return to the top of page 4 with Romemu.
רוממו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו להר קודשו. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו להר קודשו. כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו רוממו. כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו רוממו. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו להר קודשו. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו להר קודשו. לך אדוני. לחנדוני לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לחנדוני לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. שמור וזכור בדיבורך תשמיענו, אל המיוחד אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, שם ולתפארת ולתהילה. לחנדוני לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לחנדוני לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי מקור הברכה מראש מקדם נסוכה. סוף מעשה במחשם בתחילה. לחנדוני לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לחנדוני לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי, 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 שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לחנדוני לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לחנדוני לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
We rise together and we face the west to greet the Shabbos bride.
בואי ושלום עטרת מלאכה, בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לחנדוני לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לחנדוני לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
We remain standing and we turn to the bottom of page 11.
Am I awake? Am I Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Baruchu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed, le'olam va'ed. Yadadai-dai-dai, 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 yadadai-dai-dai.
Please be seated. For this special Erev Sukkot service, I'd like to introduce some readings that really complement the essence of Sukkot. And these readings are not found in the Temple Emanu-El prayer book, but rather they're found in Mishkan Tefillah, not to confuse you with Mishkan HaNefesh, which is our high holiday prayer book, but Mishkan Tefillah, on the other hand, is the Reform Siddur that majority of Reformed congregations use in North America, and believe it or not, the Rabbinical School and Cantorial School in Jerusalem. So allow these readings to really speak to the heart of Sukkot and the experience of historical empathy. So we read, "Into the sanctuary we have brought the symbols of Sukkot, the lulav that resembles the human spine. May we stand straight with courage and integrity. The myrtle whose leaves are shaped like eyes, may we behold the beauty and grandeur of the universe. The willow whose leaves resemble human lips, may we offer enduring words. The etrog, shaped like the human heart, may love guide us from selfishness to service. God of Israel, let our senses be filled with love for you and your will. Let our harvest be shared with all." And for those who are wondering, where is our lulav and etrog? And traditionally, we don't shake the lulav and etrog on Shabbat. So we turn to page 14 with Ahavat Olam.
Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael, Amcha ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, chukim u'mishpatim, אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו, בשוכבנו ובקומנו, נשיח מחוקיך, ונשמח מדברי תורתך, מצוותיך לעולם ועד, כי הם חיינו באורך ימינו, ובהם נהגה יומם ולילה. ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod, Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam, Leolam Vaed. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavcha ubechol nafshecha ubechol meodecha vehayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there's no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together. Michamocha, our Song of Freedom, page 21.
Just before we begin, this tune, as you probably have heard in years past, is a special marker for Sukkot. And for anyone who is tuning into tomorrow morning's service, you'll hear it in the Hallel section of the service as well. But for every festival, there is a tune like this that goes with the Michamocha tune and in parts of Hallel and perhaps in other places, but that's where we're going to be using them. So, here we go. Michamocha ba'elim Adonai Michamocha nedar b'kodesh Nora tehilot osefele Nora tehilot osefele Malchutecha ra'u vanecha בוקע על ים לפני משה ומרים זה אלי אנו ואמרו אדוני מלוך לעולם ואין ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
The top of page 23. Adonai our God, cause us to lie down in peace and raise us up, our sovereign, to life. Cover us with the sukkah of your peace. Improve us with your good counsel, and save us for the sake of your name. Shield us, remove from us enmity, pestilence, war, hunger, and anguish. Let there be no evil before us or behind us. Protect us within the shadow of your wings, for you are our guardian and our helper, our divine ruler, merciful and gracious. Guard our going out and our coming into life and to peace, now and forevermore. Cover us with the sukkah of your peace. Bless you, Adonai, who spreads the sukkah of peace over us, over all the people of Israel, and over Jerusalem. Page 22.
Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, Mehamidenu Malkeinu l'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, Mehamidenu Malkeinu l'chaim. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, ushmor tzeiteinu uvoheinu. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, ushmor tzeiteinu uvoheinu. Baruch atah Adonai, haborei sukat shalom, aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. Amen.
The people of Israel shall keep Shabbat, observing Shabbat in every generation as a covenant forever. It is a sign between me and the people of Israel that in 6 days God made heaven and earth, and on the seventh day God rested and was renewed. Vishamru, the bottom of page 23.
V'shameru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם לעולם, כי 6 ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש.
We rise together for tefillah.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ואלוהי אבותינו ואימותינו, אלוהי אברהם, אלוהי יצחק ואלוהי יעקב, אלוהי שרה, אלוהי רבקה, אלוהי רחל ואלוהי לאה, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, Baruch Ata Adonai, Magen Avraham Bezrat Sarah. Ata Gibor Leolam Adonai, Mechaye Hametim Ata Rav Lehoshia, Morit Atal. Mechalkel Chaim Bechesed, Mechaye Meitim Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Verofei Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato Lishenei Afar, Michamocha Baal Gevurot, Umido Melach, Melech Meimit Umechaye, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman ata lehachayot meitim, Baruch ata Adonai, Mechayei hametim. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלע. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש.
Please be seated. The colors of early evening sky blend and deepen, allowing new lights to be seen, twinkling through the branches, the promise that in darkness, new lights will be revealed. Tonight, let our shelters be strung with the finest fruit of creation, love, fertility, prosperity, wisdom. Let us promise to feed the hungry. Let our harvest forever bring shalom, bring peace. We turn to the page 35. Grant us peace, thy most precious gift, O thou eternal source of peace, and enable Israel to be its messenger unto the peoples of the earth. Bless our country, that it may ever be a stronghold of peace and its advocate among the nations. May contentment reign within its borders, health and happiness within its homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendship and fellowship among the inhabitants of all lands. Plant virtue in every soul. May the love of thy name hallow every home and every heart. Praise be thou, O Lord, giver of peace. Page 34.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim le'olam. Ki ata hu melech adon, lechol hashalom. אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם, תשים לעולם.
take a few moments for silent reflection.
Ratzon imre fi, Iyul ratzon imre fi, mehagion libi lefanecha, Adonai tzuri vegoali. Oh, may the words of my mouth, the meditation of my heart, be acceptable before you. O God, my rock and my redeemer. Ose shalom bimromav, uyase shalom aleinu, me'al kol Yisrael, me'imeru,
On this Sukkot, we especially think of those who need the shelter of support and the shelter of healing of body or spirits. On this Hag, we especially think of Susan Lapidus, Ronnie Epstein, Dr. Lynn Simons, Dr. Jason Bailey, Evan Rosemore, Vicki Luger, Robin Silverman Ayers, Nancy Russo, Jody Baum, Bruce Fleissig, Brian Cohn, Bert Cotton, Isaac Pertowski, Bethany Pridmore, Lena Bludstein, Katie Bates, Rucker Collier, Christy St. Charles, Don St. Charles, Calculette Mendel, Diane Larson, and Linda Applebaum. At this moment, we invite you to think of your names who are in need of healing of body or spirit. Our Misha Berach, our prayer for healing, the bottom of page 38.
May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Sheperach imotenu mekor habracha la'avotenu. Bless those in need of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Shabbat Shalom and Hag Sameach.
Shabbat Shalom.
When we look at Sukkot, I've always believed that this holiday is an expression of historical empathy, the obligation very similar to Passover of what it was like for us to wander in the wilderness. After slavery, we were wandering even with freedom, but the idea of wandering and going from all different points throughout this area of course, with the sukkah as our temporary abode before we entered into Eretz Israel and we reestablished the Israelite people with the God of Israel. And it's this idea of wandering that I've always wrestled with, that our job is to, of course, seek out those who wander, but who are lost. But nevertheless, this is also the opportunity that sometimes we're allowed to wander, that we're supposed to be creative in our lives, and it takes time to figure out who we are as an individual. And I think that still is a good read with the idea of Sukkot. And after all, being in slavery in Egypt was their way of living. And then once they entered into the wilderness, this is what they experienced as uncertainty. And that's the other element of Sukkot, is celebrating the idea of uncertainty. Well, sometimes there's great thinkers who make you pause. And one of those thinkers is the great Rabbi Jonathan Sacks, who is the former chief rabbi of Great Britain. He challenges me, not personally, but of course as a rabbi, that it's not so much that Sukkot is about uncertainty in the wilderness, but rather he gets a little bit more specific. And he calls this idea that Sukkot festival is truly a celebration of insecurity. This idea that for years of wandering brought great insecurity to the people Israel. But this is where they had to take that leap of faith, the idea of risk-taking. What was that risk? What was that leap of faith? That is accepting Moses' responsibility and his authority, and then to Aaron and his sons. And then the greatest risk, that greatest leap of faith, is, of course, accepting the commandments given by God at Mount Sinai. So when we think about this idea that Sukkot can be this celebration of wandering and coming home, it can be this idea of us to live temporarily 7 days or 8 days, depending on your tradition, of that historical empathy. But now, let's examine this holiday specifically through the lens of insecurity. So if we were to go back during redemption, that the only thing secure that the Israelites had, that was their way of life during slavery. But once through God, through Moses, they were redeemed, even with the idea of freedom, even with the idea to worship God freely without fear of the Egyptians. The Israelites, for so many years, suffered from insecurity. And how do we understand this in our lives as we are obligated to celebrate this holiday? I think it's easy to be insecure during moments throughout our lives personally. That could be at work, a relationship, not knowing what to do. And of course, insecurity is filled with anxiety and stress and depression, everything that the Israelites had. But for the beauty of the holiday, and this is where Rabbi Sacks really takes it home. And he said that Sukkot, at the end of the day, reminds us that God's glory was present in the small, portable tabernacle that Moses and the Israelites built in the desert. Even more empathically, so even more that feeling than in the lavish Solomon's temple that he built in all of its beautiful construction. A temple can be destroyed, as we learned that twice in 586 and in 70 CE. But a sukkah can be broken, and it can always be rebuilt. And as I said last week, I know this past 7 months, life has been difficult. And now, through the lens of Sukkot, life has been incredibly insecure. And sometimes our lavish lifestyles that we were accustomed to, those may be forever broken. But we still have the idea to rebuild our sukkah. And that is to rebuild some type of security that we have. That could be taking that risk, taking that leap of faith, as Rabbi Sachs talks about, or figuring out who in our community needs more security or certainty more than ever. So when we celebrate this holiday for 7 days, of course, it's about the idea of wondering. It's the idea of historical empathy. But Rabbi Sachs is so right that when we seem broken and when we seem lost, when we take that leap of faith, when we take that risk to get back on our feet again, that is the purpose of a sukkah. We take it down, we build it up, and then we figure out what to do. On this Erev Sukkot, may all of us deal with our insecurity, but find the strength to bring back God's glory for that security. Good Yontif. We turn to page 40 and we rise together for Aleinu.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובי מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום בחשבות האל לבביך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת עינו. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו
Please be seated. Yesh kochavim sharoram magia artsa raka asher heim etzmam avdo ve'enam. There are stars up above so far away we only see their light, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people that we loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. but the stars that light up the darkest night. These are the lights that guide us as we live our days. These are the ways we remember. On the Shabbat, we remember the yortzites of Herman Adler, Stephen Michael Barris, Sadie C. Barstein, Rose Abraham Bayer, Mitchell Bernheim, Sidney Bernstein, Herbert W. Birnbaum, Ralph Carl Black Sr., Raphael Bornstein, Barney Brown, Justin Cohen, Robert Greg Coons, Barney Copeland, Sam Diamond, David Echt, Adair David A.D. Fine, Mickey Feinberg, Harry Fitlow, Orrin Ford, Golda Fox, Alfred Freeman, Harold Goldstein, Rachel Grabov, Brian Grodner, Carrie L. Hagedorn, Geraldine Weiser-Heyman, Joseph E. Hirsch, Naomi Gary Hodis, Joseph Jacob Sr., Patrick McCullen, Mitzi Cronenberg, Rose Magnus, Shimon Nagrodsky, Rose Krentzman Otis, Anna S. Petrovsky, Annie B. Proshep, Sherman C. Raffel, Samuel Julius Rips, Jenny Rosenblum, Joanne Rosenfeld, Aaron Sachs, Mariel Shanasi, Samuel Swolwitz, David Siegel, Irving Silverman, Esther Sklar, Gertrude Solomon, Sam Spiegelman, Mary Trammell, Mildred Turetsky, Robert Turner, Minnie C. Wald, Virginia Loeb Wheel, Charlotte Weiss and Molly Weiss, Sally Mae Weiner, Henry Norman Weiss, Benjamin B. Wolf, Betty S. Wolfson, Lois Zimmerman and Jacob Zuckerman, and our heartfelt condolences in the recent passing of Francis Roseman, Edward Russell, Barbara Stryker Herman, Helen Glazer, and Lynn Otis Wilmoth.
Sheila and Paul Klein.
May their memories forever be a blessing. We rise together as a holy congregation for Mourners College on page 44. Yikadal v'ikadah shemei rabbah, biomad divra chirote v'amlich malchute, b'chayachon v'yomechon uv'chayet l'kol beit Yisrael, ba'agalah u'izman kari v'yamru.
Amen.
Yehei shmei rabbah mivarach li'olam olamei almaya, yit barach, hit shabach, hit ba'ar, hit romam, hit naseh, Vita dar, vita lev, vita lal, shemei kutsha,
Barichu.
le'ela minkol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, damin ram bioma v'yamru.
Amen.
Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'yakol Yisrael v'yamru. Amen. Osei shalom b'imromav, hu yasei shalom, aleinu v'yakol Yisrael v'yamru. Amen.
O se shalom bimromav, uya se shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, me'imeru. Amen.
We conclude with Adon Olam 132.
Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yetzir nivra le'et nasa b'chefzo kol azay melech shemo nikra ואחרי ככלות הכל, לבדו ימלוך נורא, והוא היה והוא הווה, והוא יהיה בתפארה, והוא אחד ואין שני, להמשילו להחמירה, בלי ראשית, בלי תכלית, ולא העוז והמשרה, והוא אלי וחי גואלי, וצור חבלי בעת צרה, והוא ניסי ומנוס לי, מנת כוסי ביום קרא. ידדדי די 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 ידדדי ידדדי די 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 בידו אפקיד רוחי, בעת ישן בעירה, ועם רוחי גביעתי, אדוני לי ולא אירא. ידדדי די 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 ידדדי 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 די די
Shabbat Shalom, Hag Sameach.
חג שמח.
Moedim Simcha.